I'd like to get you on a slow boat to China, all to myself alone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's me! Hurrah! I haven't even changed from my summer attire, looking rugged and handsome as ever. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another crack-filled, banter-driven, and educationalizing episode of Three Blokes, a Ball, and Bod. I am the one and only Big Joe Shippey. Welcome to the show. On tonight's show, we have three very, very special guests who will be pitching the reasons why the choice of the British and Irish Lions best ever coach should be thus. And you can argue the toss with them then, and we'll see how we get on. We got a pack show. We got two fans in five. One of them sat in the studio. He can't see me, but he can hear me, and he's looking mighty fine in his Lions top. Before we get to him, a couple of shout outs if we can. Check out David Campese. David Campese 11's new Instagram page tomorrow night. In fact, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Australian time, which is 1100 hours UK and Ireland. He is interviewing the great Brian Habana. So go to either David Campese 11 on Facebook or David Campese 11 on Instagram and follow that. That's going to be a fab interview. That one is. We have some shout outs. Thank you tonight to our good friends at Forgotten Veterans UK who are joining us. Great force of charity online, the work they're doing there. Welcome to the South African Braai Army. To Reese and the team down there for the support, and to Andre and the team at SA South African Rugby Fans Forum who are joining us as well on tonight's show, because it is part 3 of the British and Irish Lions series. And this is actually, we shouldn't have been here tonight because we tell you what's going to be going on and then we put something different on because it was asked for by you, the people. So you wanted to know who the greatest coach was. And he said to us, just put some of your guests up and they can have a choice. So we've just done that. As ever, you'll see running along the bottom of the page and in the top right-hand corner, reverse. We don't have sponsorship. We should do. We don't currently. We are supporting during COVID-19 local and global businesses. First of all, our good friends at coffeedog.ie. I received today from Johnny Pullen the new, look at that, the new Kenyan. This is as strong as it's strong as a butcher's dog, I tell you. And some small blood. Yes. My inbox keeps getting filled up. I don't mind. It's great engagement, but it keeps getting filled up. Is the promo code still on? Yes, it is. Go to coffeedog.ie and put in capital letters SHEP, as in Big Joe Shep, and you'll get 20% off for the duration of COVID-19. And also, we are supporting, obviously, Dan Fonsale from Springbok International and Johan Taylor, who run the phenomenal Rugby Academy Ireland over here at the 4-star Killashee Hotel and Spa in County Kildare. It is the only independent rugby academy in Ireland, and it is the place to go to. They take aspiring youngsters from across the world, and they do year-long transitional courses where they come out with a strength and conditioning qualification, all sorts of stuff. Day courses, week courses, 2-week courses. They can do teams and go to rugbyacademyireland.ie and check out. It is the way any academy should be run, in my opinion. So that's why we're supporting both of those. Cool. Right, on with tonight's show. My first guest, I've been wanting to get him on for ages. I first met him, must be about 3 years or so now, maybe longer, maybe 4 years ago. He's an English rugby supporter. He's a Geordie. He'll explain that for those people who don't live in the UK. But he's a huge Leinster fan, which makes him all right in my book. He's an all-round solid good man. Please welcome our first fan in 5 tonight, Colin Campbell. Col, how are you?
Good, Joe. Yeah, very good.
Good man. Listen, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where about in Geordie land are you from? An Englishman. Why are you supporting Leinster? What's the journey with rugby, brother?
Basically, Joe, I live in the northeast, Newcastle. About 8-9 years ago, I was in Portugal on a golf trip and ended up meeting a girl from Dublin. That kind of transpired into a relationship. It was a commuter relationship for the first 2 years, so I was kind of flying over to Dublin every couple of weeks. And I think one of the weeks when we were across there, your partner just said, do you fancy going to a Leinster game? And I was like, Leinster? I didn't have a clue what it was about. I didn't really have any kind of involvement in rugby. Didn't really watch it apart from like the Six Nations every year. And kind of went. It was a good excuse to go on the drink. So it went from there. And start watching a bit of the Hainault when Leinster won it in 2012. Watched the semis back home, obviously the infamous game against Clermont, and I was kind of a little bit attracted to it then. And then my partner said, is there any local rugby clubs we can kind of watch the final at? And I realised that the game was against Ulster. I didn't realise how big of a game it was, and it was at Twickenham. So I thought, oh, happy days, I'm going to try and get tickets. And I didn't realise they were like gold dust. Ended up going onto a ticket website, paying 175 quid each for two tickets. Went down to Twickenham and had an absolutely fantastic weekend. And I was blown away with the atmosphere, and I got the bug then straight away. And then that was it. The next 2 years, I was flying across to Dublin that much that I ended up getting a season ticket for 2 years, and then it kind of just went from there.
Good drills, and that's the story of how an Englishman from Newcastle. And the lowest common denominator, lovely lady that she is always down to a woman that starts all this off. People blame the demon drink and sport, but actually it was the lady that started yours. So fair play, well done. You've been all over with Leinster, Col, haven't you? Tell us some of the places you've been to.
I have, yeah. It was, as I say, it was. I kind of caught the bug straight away. It was just the atmosphere. It was just, I don't know. I just kind of, you catch the rugby bug and you just get into it. And as I say, I ended up, going to quite a few home games, having a season ticket, and then I took the punt of starting to follow the Hainault games. And one of my first games was across to Toulon, which was, I was just amazed with the atmosphere of the ground. It was just incredible, and it was. I was a bit of a loner actually, because I ended up I was flying around Europe, watching Leinster, kind of meeting people. But it was kind of a good way, a good icebreaker, because I got asked quite a few times, what the hell is a 6'6" Geordie supporting Leinster doing in the middle of France? So that was quite, you kind of sit in a bar thinking, oh, how are you doing? And they'll go, Newcastle, what you doing, and kind of following Leinster and Marseille, or Toulon or whatever. So it was a kind of good way of kind of getting to meet people. But to be perfectly honest, I can't thank the Leinster fans absolutely enough. I mean, they're absolutely amazing fans, and I've made so many kind of friends, long, really good, close friends over the last few years. And it's obviously I'm a little bit kind of, they say 6'6". I kind of, I get noticed quite a bit, and I seem to be quite a famous fan when I'm knocking about. But as I say, I've never missed a Hainault game for about the last 3.5 years, and it's it's a bit of a passion now. You know what I mean? I kind of I love the Hainault, and I love flying around Europe, and I've kind of trying to fly from Newcastle to far distant places in France is a bit of a nightmare. I remember flying to Toulon, and I think it took us 12 hours flying to Amsterdam and here and there, and getting trains, planes, and kind of all just for like kind of 80 minutes. But it's worth it, and I would do it again. You know what I mean? And it's
which is Nigel Quigley, who is the Night King. He has been elevated from the Chief White Walker. He's the Night King himself, because we have White Walker 1 on with us tonight. And he says, Jesus, it's the Colin fella. Yes, you are very well known around the bazaars. That's how I first got to meet you. And listen, yeah, what's the best place you've ever been to with Leinster? The best game that you went to, mate?
The best game in terms of kind of atmosphere, but it was kind of, it wasn't the right result. But Lyon, I think it was 3 years ago, the semi-final against Clermont. That was just unbelievable. That was an unbelievable atmosphere. I've got a couple of videos still on my phone, and you kind of watch them back, and it just kind of, it was just amazing. The Clermont fans are the best fans I've ever seen. Obviously Leinster have got an affiliation with Clermont because we've played them that many times over the years, and they're absolutely amazing. You kind of walk into the ground, they're inviting you to the cars for cheese and beer, and they're amazing. And that was absolutely, the atmosphere was unreal. To be fair, I kind of watched I think is it the 2006 semi-final? Is it the 2006 semi-final or the 2000 at Croke Park? Which one was that? Is that the 2008 or 2000? Which one was it? The Croke Park semi-final. That's kind of one game that I wish I could have went to, because that was kind of looked as though it was going to be amazing. But no, that Clermont game was something special.
Good.
Newcastle last year was pretty emotional because kind of having the best part of 25,000-30,000 Leinster fans turning Newcastle blue was in my hometown was pretty emotional. But the Clermont game in Lyon is pretty much the best atmosphere I've been to.
Good stuff. Listen, we've got a lot to get through tonight, mate. I know you're going to come back on again and be a full guest for us at some point in the future, and we can fit you in. But Ian Gilbert, who's our ambassador extraordinary from Three Blokes to the Court of Madrid. Hola, Ian. Loves the story, Colin. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows Colin Campbell. He is probably one of the biggest Leinster fans there is, and it's a real pleasure to meet you, mate, and to know you. And thank you for making the time. I know you're still busy during this period, but best regards to you and the family, mate. Stay safe, and we look forward to having you on in the not too distant future. Ladies and gentlemen, Colin Campbell, fantastic story. Thanks, Col.
Cheers, Joe.
Take care, mate. Got to sort of rush on. We're going to bring our second Colin Campbell, phenomenal story and a great guy. Going to bring our next guest straight in, our next fan in 5. He is actually a full guest on next week's show. He is a man who runs the only print journal that I would endorse in at all. And actually, you need to go and subscribe to it, because I think it's absolutely tremendous value. He'll tell you a little bit about that. And this month they've got he's got the great Eddie Jones on. Please welcome from the Rugby Journal, Alex Mead. Alex, good evening.
Hey Joe, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for making the time to come on. I know you're probably busier than I am at the moment, but tell us a little bit about yourself and how the Rugby Journal started.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a journalist for like 20 odd years, and did a lot of stuff with rugby. I was at Rugby World for a bit. I did Total Rugby. Don't you remember that TV show on Sky? Did that for a bit, and I actually did a lot of food and travel stuff, and we produced the Lions programs. Funny enough, so we did there you go, these ones for the last series. So we produced these for the New Zealand Rugby, and then after that, we kind of were looking around the market, realised there wasn't a magazine we really wanted to read ourselves. You know, there was no journal for rugby. There was monthlies and stuff that were kind of aimed at a younger audience, and we wanted to produce something that was a coffee table. So I persuaded a couple of business partners to say, look, let's just do one, see what happens. So we produced like 1,000 copies of I'm really rubbish with this camera of this, which was, you know, thick coffee table. All the articles were like 3,000 words. We're like, oh, is there going to be scope for this? Because there's no short articles. It was all long form, but it was about that person. So not about opinion, not about sort of giving our opinion. We weren't going to be Stephen Jones or anything. It was like, let's tell this person's story as honestly as we can through their words. And it really took off. We had like people saying it was like the monocle of rugby. It was something that people wanted to collect. And we'd only produced 1,000 of the first one. And then we got a phone call from Bob Lovell, who owns or ran Bob Lovell Sports and sold it to Sports, and said, look, I've been waiting for something to read on a Sunday afternoon, and this is it. And that was our first advertiser. And then we're like, right, well, we can do another issue. And we've just done issue 10. Am I allowed to share a cover? Is that all right? Can I do it?
Yeah, of course it is.
So and as a result, now we've kind of, so this is our, can you see that?
We can, yeah. Let me just stick that on. I should be going up now. Let's stick it on full. There we go.
So Eddie Jones spoke to us for this issue. Big on women's rugby as well. Our biggest ever interview was this issue, which was Emily Scarrett, and we spoke to her over 3-4 interviews. It's about 7,000 words long. And, you know, the Barbarians, when Pat Lam put together that side that had all the Toulon superstars, and we spent a week with theirs. And it was really big stories. And it was also using photographers that weren't rugby photographers, because I don't know if you realize, when you see any sports photography, it all looks the same. There are different moments, but it actually all looks the same because they're all good, but they're all using the same equipment. And all of our photographers are like fashion, reportage, architecture. So it gives it a different feel. And we just try to make it different, but it's something that you could pick up. If you picked up our Alan Wynne issue, you know, he's talking about caravan holidays and breastfeeding for about 800 words. And then you cover all the Gatland stuff afterwards. But you could read it 2 years later and it will still be relevant because it's still about moments in their life. So, yeah, been going for amazingly 2.5 years. And now, like, you know, we've been doing the weekly webinars as well, just to keep stuff going, because unfortunately now there's no newsstand, so we can't sell any magazines on WH Smith. Every advertiser pulled out. So we had our first major deal with Hong Kong Sevens. And obviously that was the first event to be canned. So we were actually going to make money. I say make money, we weren't going to earn anything ourselves, but we weren't going to lose in 3 years. And they pulled. But you know, they said they're going to come back. But yeah, so it's, you know, it's a passion project, but we think it's something the market needed, and every other sport had one, and rugby didn't. So yeah, it's something we love being part of.
Absolutely. And you're clearly an extra rugby fan, a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I don't buy into all this bollocks. Like when I used to do all the games where all the journalists said, "Oh, you can't cheer," and you sit in Twickenham box and they don't cheer, and you're like, "But me, man, we've just scored against." I was there when we beat the All Blacks at Twickenham. How can you not cheer? How can you not cheer when, you know, Harlequins got relegated and stuff like that? There's like so many moments, and I think they like the idea of being independent. But I would always argue the most critical people of a team is the fans. You know, who criticises, you know, Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, then, you know, Irishmen, Englishmen, Welshmen, Scotsmen. So I never bought into that, and I am an Exeter Chiefs fan, and you know, I hate stuff they do sometimes, and I love stuff they do, but it doesn't actually impact on impartiality when you're trying to tell a story. But I'm from Devon, so I'm from a fishing town called Brixton.
We had a girl called Jess Veacock on the other week from who's with the Newton Abbot under-8s, and they were in a competition with a load of other under-8 teams to win a day training with Exeter Rugby. Unfortunately, the people who promoted it pulled out at the last moment, which was a real shame for the kids. But we had Campo do a video message to the Newton Abbot under-8, and that's the power of the rugby family. And you're right, it's about the fans, it's about the people, it's about the game, and that's what makes us stand out. And I'm a global rugby fan. But I love Leinster, love Ireland, but, you know, I love watching, you know, lots of teams around the globe. Exeter Chiefs would be my team for, as I really love London Irish, you know, who obviously just come back into the Premiership, because the way we were looked after by the Chiefs when I went with Leinster, and a freezing January Hino night a number of years ago, 2012, I think it was, 2013. And I love the way they've organically, Exeter have done it. So it is all about the club and the people and the fans. You're absolutely right. Actually, Carl Patterson from All Talk Rugby, who's on the show in just a couple of moments' time, says he loves objective journalism, never something to be undervalued. And again, I mean what I say when I edify what you're doing. I think your webinars are absolutely outstanding. The standard of people you've got on, mate, is absolutely brilliant. The chat you have, the honesty, the openness, that print and the webinar stuff. So we got to crack on. You're on next week for the full show as a full guest. Alex Mead from the Rugby Journal. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go to the Rugby Journal on Facebook, online, have a look at it, and sign up for the webinars as well, because in fact we're sharing them, aren't we, each Saturday or each Friday?
We'll put the next one up tomorrow, but we've got some good players next week as well. So it's all been different topics, but they're all just very honest, really, which is
and I think that's the difference now, is that people are opening up and being a little bit more honest about life and rugby and everything, because it's more than just thing, and I think that's what personalizes it a little bit more. But Alex, listen, thanks for your brief foray in. Look forward to you being a full fan next week. Alex Mead, the Rugby Journal. Take care, brother. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Cheers, bye. Right, over the show. Right, I'm going to bring I'll bring them in first of all, and then introduce them, because they've been helping themselves to all the nibbles and the drinks down in our virtual green room there. Let's get them all in first. Where's White Walker 1? He's there. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Back in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to bring up one thing. We are 20 minutes into the show, and we are now going to hit the main part of the show. But I forgot the very beginning. I had a message the other day saying, why do we have so much preamble at the beginning? Why can't we just get straight into the topic? Do you know what? Because we've just had bloody quality people on. And I'm afraid if you don't like that, then, you know, first 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, disappear and come back, because actually we're being discourteous to the people, the fans like Colin Campbell, to people like Alex Mead, and to all of the people, because it's important that we give shout out to the whole global community, from grassroots all the way up to international test level, and that's the way it's always going to be. And to thank people in the community doing stuff, and giving shout out for local businesses, and that's the way I run it, and that's the way it's going to be. So it's not meant to be stroppy or anything, it's just meant to be listen, let's educate ourselves a little bit more to things that are happening out there. Okay, moving on. So thank you, Colin and Alex. Look forward to seeing them in the future. Alex next week. And on to our 3 guests from All Talk Rugby. He hasn't been on for ages. Glad to have him back. I know he's a busy young man. Carl Patterson, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Joe? You keeping fine, man?
Yeah, good man. Great to have you back. Thanks for your time, mate. I know there's lots going on, but it's always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Yeah, good man. One of the fans' favourites, South African, keeps trying to tell me that South Africa are going to win 3-0 next year. We'll see. We'll see what his choices of the best ever Lions coach as an outsider. Welcome back, Mr. Riemann Stennekamp.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, evening, everybody. Lions, as big as it gets. It's a fantastic opportunity, to be on the show. Thanks for the opportunity. Looking forward. And I never said 3-0.
You're thinking it. There we go. And finally, we have from Ulster, White Walker 1. And I think Nigel Quigley, wherever Nigel is the Night King. And everybody north of the border are White Walkers. We know that from the programme. He is White Walker 1. His brother, though, Reggie is White Walker 1967 or something. He's way down the pecking order. But please welcome David Toppin. Dave, how are you?
Good evening, Joe. Good evening, everyone. Been looking forward to this one all week. This has been
you and both. Right. Let's have a quick gander of who we've got on. We had Gerald Williamson, past president of Navan Rugby Football Club. We're in the Lions, okay. And I did see something from where is our good friend Martin Buggy? Mufasa, White Walker 1. Oh, there he is there. Yeah. He was saying a thank you to Colin there. Finally, someone wearing a Lions jersey on a Lions show. I'm refusing to wear a Lions jersey until you come on the show. And then you'll probably say that's my fault for not having you on because he was meant to be on 3, but it's slipping down. And apart from that, my Lions jersey that I've ordered isn't here yet. And I didn't get a red one. I got a green one because that's the only one I could get my fat-bodied size. So deal with it, Mr. Buggy. Your time will come, and when you're on, I will have a Lions shirt on, mate. Get yourself in the pathway. Right, on with the show. So, who is going to start? The whole aspect of this was that people asked us if we could throw in an additional show in the Lions series, looking at who some of our guest panelists thought was the best Lions coach ever. So I said to 3 of the panelists, right, come on, pick one of those people from down through the ages from 1894 or whatever it is, all the way through to the last 2 series by Mr. Garen Watland, a chap from Wales, and who has been hugely successful. 1 win, let's not deny it. 1 win and 1 draw, and is going for a 3-some next year. Fair play to him. So we wanted to know who was the favourite coach of all time. I can't remember who I asked to start first. I think it was Carl. Was it you?
It may have been Rena, but I'm happy either way.
Okay, who, in your opinion, mate, was the best Lions coach ever? Tell us why, about them, what inspired you. Pitch them to the world, brother.
Okay, well, I went for, this is going to sound really strange considering this guy died 9 years before I was born. Carwyn James, famously known by many Welshmen as the coach that Wales never had. Track record speaks volumes. He had the knack of knowing how to beat the All Blacks, as well as coaching the Lions to their first major series abroad, and still to this date, the only Lions coach to have won a test series in New Zealand. Of course, the test series, well renowned these days, played 4 tests back then in the 1970s. Played 4, won 2, lost 1, and drew 1. Drew the final test, of course. 14 all. He had this knack of just knowing how to get the best out of his players, how to have confidence in his teams. And you could argue with the Lions, especially when you've got players likes of JPR Williams, Gerald Davis, Mike Gibson, Barry John, Gareth Edwards, Mevin Davis, Gordon Brown, Willie John McBride. The list goes on, that with that amount of talent, anyone could do. I knew when Willie John's name came up that was going to happen somewhere. But when you've got that amount of talent, you could argue, any coach could do well with them. But a name worthy of mentioning is Peter Dixon, who was at the time hardly known on the world scene. He was a Harlequins flanker, uncapped by England, and he played in 3 of the 4 tests and was absolutely brilliant in those 3 or 4 tests as a flanker. Very effective in the tight and very a live wire in the loose as well. But also he had the ability to, as well as instilling confidence in players, knowing how to coach them properly. He liked an attractive brand of rugby, which I think would be, some argue, is missing from the modern game a bit. I think as a coach, as a man manager, I think he'd be up there with some of the best the game's ever had. And he gave not just the Lions, but also, of course, Llanelli to their only win against New Zealand to date, and also the Babas' first win against the All Blacks, that famous 1973 game. He was the coach of the Babas that day. So I think, would he be a good coach today? I mean, there are lots of arguments about the little things. Obviously, back then, there was only one coach and one manager, and they had 3 months together and 36 matches to play on tour. Very different these days. And you just think, I mean, would he cope with like the standards of today with regards to obviously all the sports scientists, the technical analysis, video analysis, all that stuff that wasn't around back in the 70s? I think because he's got the abilities as the man manager and also his knowledge of the game as well, had great success wherever he went, and even though it was in a different era. So I think he would be as successful today as he was back in the 70s, albeit the ins and outs of it, you could argue a bit different. But analytically, I think as well, because you don't just go to New Zealand. And it was a good New Zealand team they came up against in 1971, the Lions, and win a series down there if you've not got pedigree and ability as a coach.
Oh, that's a good opening pitch, lads, I have to say. So Carwyn James, who, if I remember right, it was 1971.
Yeah.
And he was, as you say, he was the only person, actually, I think, in history who did club, if you like, representative and national, international, because you're right, the Wales coach, that never was. So he's with Llanelli when he beat the All Blacks. With the Barbars, he coached so he coached Llanelli, beat the All Blacks, he coached the Barbars, and he coached the Lions team. And like you say, hard to turn around and argue against anybody when a man is the only time ever to coach a winning team in New Zealand. So there we are. Carwyn James. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Three Blokes, a Ball and Bod, Part 3, the best ever Lions coach ever. So we've had the opening gambit from Carl Patterson there, who is pitching for Carwyn James back in 1971. So that's a good opening pitch. Ryan and Stenningham, what do you think, Carwyn James?
Yo, that's quite a CV there, Kyle. I knew what he did to the All Blacks in New Zealand, but I was unaware of his Llanelli feat, as well as the win that he notched up for the Bombers. That's quite a CV. The guy that I picked, Ian McGeechan, this guy makes him look like a bit of a shame, which is obviously not true. The picture I want to paint you guys of the 1997 Lions tour to South Africa, you need to see it a little bit from our point of view. We won the World Cup in 95, and then the coach, Keith Christie, stood down, got a new coach, and then in 1996, the All Blacks came here and beat us in a test series in South Africa for the first time ever. We were still on the high of the World Cup, so we didn't make it off as nothing, but we were able to, to swallow that and carry on. But then came 1997, and the Lions, Captain Martin Johnson, I wouldn't say he was an unknown at that time, but he wasn't the Martin Johnson yet. He was an up-and-coming captain. He was an established international for sure, but he was still, in terms of captaincy on the international stage, he wasn't there yet. And he was tour captain. But Ian McGeechan, that guy didn't speak. When he spoke to the press on arrival and the first couple of days they were here, he didn't say anything. He just said, listen, the Boks are awesome, they're world champions, such an honor to be here. And he said all the right things. But he never came out and said, obviously, the aim of any Lions team is to win the Test series. That goes without saying. But he never said that. He never said what their plan was. He never gave any inclination of which players he was looking at picking, for a test match 15, and which players were going to play in the weekday games and all that. He kept quiet. He just carried on his business. And when you go to the first test match at Newlands, halftime, I myself and I think the whole of this country was in shock. But the sheer brute force that we were blown away. And they showed Ian McGeechan. I remember this to this very day. A couple of times the cameras were on him during that first half. And he was very close to expressionless. He got excited here and there, but he wasn't like into it like you had with Ian McIntosh, the old Bok coach, and recently you got that guy from France, Fabian Galtier. He lives himself into it. That wasn't Ian McGeechan. Right, then the Lions won the first test handsomely at Newlands. The Boks were on the back foot there now. Go to the second test in Durban. Ian McGeechan, after the first test, so let me just add this. After the first test match, he said, well, he's obviously satisfied with what the Lions did, and he's satisfied with the win. He thought the Boks still played well, even though the score doesn't show it. But again, he didn't give anything away. Second test match in Durban, right at the death, 15 all. Jeremy Gross, and then Jeremy Guscott dropped the goal. Well, not right at the death, but close to the end. We attacked for everything we were worth. Lions held up in defense. Again, that's down to coaching. Then, after that win, he showed emotion for the first time. But again, at the post-match interviews and conference and all that, after when he was interviewed, he just said he's proud of the guys and he's happy with the win, obviously, and the Boks were great opponents and everything, but he didn't elaborate on that. And to this very day, this is what sticks in my head. He was so humble. And Jim Telfer, don't chuck him out. Jim Telfer, in the same breath, he also didn't speak much. Frank Cotton, I can't remember whether he actually really spoke out. I don't think he did. But Ian McGeechan was so humble from day one. He came here, the Lions came, they saw, and they conquered. On the field, brilliant. But if you look at Ian McGeechan, who was the brain behind this, you would never say it. Because he was so humble, he was full of compliments for the Boks. Again, yes, we were world champions, but we didn't look like it. So that's my piece on him. I think Ian McGeechan, his demeanor and his approach to the game is unrivaled.
And of course, he's the only person, if memory serves me right, to have done 4 tests between 1989 and 2009. One of those he did share with Jim Telfer, the great Jim Telfer. But Ian McGeechan, absolutely superb coach. And you know what? He won some of those tests. Out of those 4, he won and he lost some of those tests. But here's the thing. It was the way that, you're right, it was the way that he conducted himself throughout. And it wasn't, I think, yes, every coach wants to win, but actually about playing good rugby and creating a team and building people together. There's a lot of more modern day coaches who could take the focus off themselves without naming names and put it onto the club or the country or the Lions, for example, off the top of my head. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's the way that he did it. And I think that's why he goes down in history, really. And it's hard to pick between the two so far because, I mean, it's, when I went through the history of all this, it was like learning some of the stories about stuff. And Archmead, who's just been on, obviously said, Kyle, well done. I remember Peter Dixon. That's great. But when you look at some of these things, it is difficult to separate different characters over time, but they all have something that I think some of the modern coaches don't have. Cowan James had it. Ian McGeechan had it. They knew how to treat people. It was more about playing the game, in my humble opinion. It was more about the players. It was about playing the game. It was about delivering something. It wasn't about the personal glory for them. There we go. So we've had Carl Patterson, who was pimped for Carwyn James from 71, and Rian Stankout, who's pimped for the Lions when they beat them for Ian McGeechan. Now, who else have we got on the show before we come to White Walker 1? So, what's Johnny Pullen saying? The Bray Army. Bray being barbecue. So that's Reese and the team at South Africa Bray Army. Yeah, high altitude Kenyan coffee rocks. It is probably the best one you've ever produced, mate. So go to coffeedog.ie, use Shep, and you get 20% off, just to give another banner. Here we go, Eleni. So yeah, Bray Army, there we go. Love that. Love having new people on the show. Leanne Richards. Leanne, how are you? Oops, that's going up. Leanne, I hope that you're well. Great to see you back on the show. I hope everything is going well. Heinrich, thank you for your support again this afternoon on the other live. What else have we got on the show? Reagan. Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, I'm replying back there. Oh, I'm getting messages about meetings later. Gift. Who else have we got on the show? Yeah, that's and these messages galore. Nigel Quigley. But you never watched Hyundai Glovis play the Korean Army live online, Joe? No, I didn't know. Was that before my time or something? Something there must be. Oh, I tell you, and Nigel did put something up before that. Yes, after a couple of weeks break. But I better hide that because they're not sponsoring me, so I'm not giving them a shout out. I am back on my favourite Malbec, and just to let everybody know, we get messages galore, as everybody knows. I got one the other week saying, was I serious that if somebody could get hold of, well, we've got a coffee supply now, but dark chocolate and wine, preferably Malbec. If somebody could produce those to us, would we take them on as a sponsor? You have no idea how fast I would be in my car within the 5K safe. So, obviously. But yeah, so I'm back on the Malbec. Nigel goes on. It's nice to see DJ Kyle back on the show. I think Nigel's been on the Malbec himself. There we go. Back to the rugby. Regan Craig says there has to be Carwyn James from yesteryear. However, you can't argue with Mr. Gavin Watland last two tour results. You can't argue with Watland's results. No, you can't. But I have a thing about individuals, and it's more about the team. And again, like I say, I hope to get him on a show one day. In fairness to him, because I never criticise when it's just some of the things I don't like, and obviously the geographical 6 and the Shane Williams incident. For me, the Lions thing is a very, very special jersey that's earned. The Lions number should be earned by being the best that you can be. So anyway, Regan Craig pumps for Carwyn as well. So you got somebody favourite. So far, we've heard two. We've heard Carwyn James from 71, the great Welsh legend. Who coached Llanelli to beat the All Blacks, who coached the Barbars to beat the All Blacks, and who coached the Lions to beat the All Blacks, from Kyle Patterson and Sir Ian McGeechan. 4 tests that he did with as coach of the Lions, one with Jim Telfer, obviously, from Renan Stennekamp. Who are your thoughts? Alex Mead says, thank you, everybody, for getting on. His details there for where you can hold the stuff on the Rugby Journal, so go and look at them and check out and sign up for his webinars. He has the very, very best people on outside of my show, obviously. Look at the guys looking. Martin Buggy, Mufasa. This is the. I mean, I write less than that, mate, and I write one piece. It's easy. The Lions coach was Carwyn. Top Lions coach was Carwyn James. He went and coached the Lions to their only series against the All Blacks. Sid Miller, name my cup up in a minute. The great Irishman coached the Invincibles in the next series. They went unbeaten for the whole tour, etc., etc. Read on through those. So Martin is pumping for Carwyn James as well. I tell you what, you're doing well, Kyle. You're doing well. Before he pitches his own, David Topping, what do you think to the first two so far? Carwyn James and Ian McGeechan.
Well, put it this way, whenever this subject cropped up, instantly there are 3 names that are going to crop up, and that's certainly McGeechan, certainly Carwyn James, obviously because of their exploits. Mr. Gatland, and I will use his proper name, yes, he will crop up in the conversation because of his record. To me, Carwyn was very much one of the better coaches that the Lions have had. His style was very much an attacking style, and obviously the way he went about things, it was very much sort of a precursor to what followed after, and certainly with McGeechan, I certainly agree with Regan there. One of them, the way he conducted himself throughout the entire tour, which means he will be one of the best loved coaches in Lions history. But I have to say I would respectfully disagree with the pair of them because there's one slotted in between who considered to be one of the most underrated coaches in Lions history, and that is Sid Miller. Sid, player for Ballymena, played until he was 45, right through to 1980, albeit for the 6-15, and even managed to win the McCambly Cup at the end of that season. So he ended his playing career on a win with a cup. But at the time, he was selected to be Lions coach. He was also the Irish coach who had won the Five Nations that year by 2 points from France, if I remember correctly. And when he was selected, pretty much it was a given that, given the dearth of talent that there was in Carwyn James' 71 tour, the 74 Lions were pretty much the base of the 71 Lions. Willie John McBride was at the end, nearing the end of his career. In fact, he even said himself he was surprised to be chosen. And then obviously then made captain, obviously because Miller and McBride played Ballymena together, and obviously Willie John as Irish captain. And what struck me was that obviously at the time the tour was played under those most strenuous circumstances in South Africa at the time, where you had all those problems with apartheid and various protests in the UK, including by the UK government. They were very much against the tour from happening. However, Miller and McBride, both who were obviously ensconced in the problems that Northern Ireland were under at the time of Sunningdale, they said, well, we don't have any influence about things that happen here. What makes us think we're going to have any influence on what happened in South Africa? And their attitude was, no, we should go and play. And that's what led to that very famous open door policy that McBride himself and Miller had okayed from the start. Was, there's the open door. If you're not committed to the tour, there's the door. It's not going to be a stain on you, but out you go. You need to be committed to be on the tour. And very much straight away, you could tell that Miller's style was very much not so much on the backs. It was very much forwards heavy. Scrummaging was very, very important. And obviously, considering the physicality of the South Africans he was going to meet on the 74 tour, he wanted to concentrate on the physicality and, in his eyes, basically break the scrummage down. Be physical, meet the physicality with physicality, no matter what the price may be. But at the same time, Miller was not one for shouting. He was very understated in the way that he dealt with his players. It was never shouting orders. It was always a very quiet, well-chosen words that gave you confidence rather than take it away. But also, as well as that, he was very much one for what we see now in professional ranks. Professional players these days, they look for training. They look for constant training, constant physicality, constant physical activity to keep yourself at 100%. Back in 74, it was unheard of, very much in the amateur ranks. But Miller and McBride knew that it was going to be an arduous tour, it was going to be a physical tour. So basically, they set out with and in secret, because nobody knew exactly where they trained. They were going through punishing schedules of running, sprinting. You think about it. You had J.J. Williams, you had JPR, you had athletes who were there and were able to perform at the highest level in 71. Now you're taking an extra 3 years, that 3 years experience. You're right, as Martin Buggy said, the dearth of talent in that squad, you could think anybody could coach it, but you had to have that quiet word and sometimes that steely gaze, and that's what Miller provided. He provided the steel behind everything that the Lions did on that tour. Now everybody knows that tour was the Invincibles. They won all bar one game, which was the last test, and that was because of a referee who said, "Here, boys, I have to live here." After this game, so he actually blew it 4 minutes early, and that was before Slattery was able to score what should have been a winning try. But you look at the players that were there: McGeechan, McLaughlin, Fran Cotton, Willie John. That was the base unit for what was going to be a very physical, a very dynamic, but also quite an attacking side as well. Looking at the test results, the first one was pretty much a kicking game. It was a 12-3 win, but then they put on an absolute clinic in the second test and give. I think it was actually in the third test they gave South Africa their highest ever defeat in a Lions tour at 28 points to 9. So, looking at everybody will look at McGeechan, everybody will look at Carwyn James because of his exploits with the All Blacks, but Miller is underrated. Miller has always been considered as underrated. So from that perspective, you look at what Miller achieved then after that Lions tour and what he's achieved ever since. In my mind, Miller pioneered a lot of the techniques which now appear in our professional game. And in my humble opinion, he's one of the greatest coaches of the Lions.
That's a good pitch for him. I often wonder whether Grayson Miller was ahead of his time because of the style he played and the big physicality. It's actually more akin to a lot of what we play now in the big, strong styles and the way that he put the forwards together and the style of forwards would be very akin. That's a long time ago in reality stage. So I understand massively why you have picked him. I'm going to take, first of all, my apologies, guys. You saw me messing around with something. These bloody subtitles on a Facebook thing that I think it actually comes up and says they're auto-generated. They spoil the whole thing, Facebook, so will you bugger off? It's bad enough some of the things you do, and yes, we love you. Allow us to get these shows out there. But
they make me sound like Nia and Numb out of Star Wars.
Oh, honestly, it just drives me up the wall. There's no need for it, or ask people if they want to have them on. So I make no apologies for ranting, and I'm sorry that if it spoils the show, lads, for you watching. I've now managed to turn them off, but I have to go onto the main system. I can't do it via my phone, so forgive me for that little interruption. David Topham, thanks very much for that. Before we go into what makes a good coach, Martin Buggy says McGee won 2 tours in 89 and 97, was an Invincible in 74, but it's not about success, it's about how he held himself, as I said before, and the team in defeat too. He was also the midweek coach in 05 and head coach again in 09, absolutely right. Nigel Quigley, not sure what that one is, obviously a private sideshow. The Keach, we've got to put this one up. Simon Clutterbuck. Simon, good evening to you. The Keach lives down the road from Simon, a legend and probably the person most involved with the Lions, both as a player and a coach. You know what, Simon? I'll make you an offer, mate. If you can get hold of Keach and put him in touch, and we'll get him on the show, and you can come on with him. There you go. Can't see more better than that, can you? So Simon and the Geach. That's what we want.
Good deal.
Already, mate. Simon and the Geach coming on the show talking about rugby. So have a chat with him, mate, and then PM me, send us a message at 3 Blokes a Ball on Board. And seriously, we will see what we can do about getting things on. So Scott Wilson from the Lions in Pink. Scott was on last week. Had to love Jim Telfer's team talk in '97. We've got Reagan says, in his opinion, The Lions has been devalued in recent years, i.e. Shane Williams incident, the geographical six, etc., etc., etc. And I didn't prompt him to say that before he had no, or any of my other Welsh friends starts having a go at me. I didn't prompt him, but you may think that, Regan Craig. I couldn't possibly comment anymore because I've been asked not to mention Mr. Gavin Watman's exploit with Shane Williams again. What else have we got? Guys, get yourselves ready because I want to hear from each of you, starting with Kyle in a minute. What makes a good Lions coach? Catherine Beechner. Catherine, good evening to you. As much as dislike Mr. Gatlin, he has been great for the Lions. Another opinion, absolutely, and everybody thinks I hate him. I don't. I respect him massively. I think he's achieved lots and lots. I think he turned Wales around at just, some of the things I just didn't really like at all. Would that make rugby's Cheech and Chong? Very good. Very good. Simon Clutterbuck says you'll see what you can do. You heard it here first. So we might have the Cheech and Simon show. There we go. Absolutely. Bob Tickle, the man he dropped down from second to the third place with the best internet name according to Kigo. Ori, good to see you back on. Hope you
still first in my book, Joe. Still first in my book.
Yeah, you're still first in your book. I'm trying to think of the name that we came across recently. There we go. And Thomas Lister. Passion for the shirt makes a great coach. So there we go. Thomas, thanks for that. Great to see you on. On that, Carl Patterson, what makes a great coach for the British and Irish Lions, in your opinion?
I was going to make a bit of a side comment on Gatlin. I know you have your thoughts. We Scots absolutely hate him after the last tour, but God damn it, I respect him because he knows how to get a job done. But anyway, that's just a personal opinion there. What makes a great coach is obviously the ability to bond 40 guys, around 40 guys together as a team. The ability these days especially to bond them quickly, which as much as I hate Gatlin personally, I can't argue he's got an ability to do that, going by the last two tours. And also ability to, give confidence to the players as well, and to basically, sort of understand what they're playing for. But the most important thing is, of course, the gelling of his team and understanding what you're up against, and as well, those are the two ones. Last sentence I said, yeah.
Good man yourself, David Toppin. What makes
for me very much it's a case of man management and that ability to look around the people you've got, know who the leaders are in that locker room. Look to see who needs that little bit of a push on, who needs that little bit of a pick me up, and it's that ability. And I'll agree with Kyle here. Gatlin had that uncanny ability to sort of pick out one or two who he can sort of say, can you have a word with him? Can you have a word with him? To try and sort of push it forward just that little bit. Sort of old school ways. It was a case of you pick three guys and you just let them rip, especially old school before they put the ban on bars. It was a case of everybody out for a drink at the start, and then everybody come in, regardless if it was 3 or 4 in the morning, they were up at 8 o'clock the next morning for sprinting. So you can imagine the carnage that ensued afterwards. But it's that uncanny ability to be able to mold everything to what you're looking for, especially when you play the strength, say, of South Africa or the All Blacks. You're looking for certain things, and obviously looking at what you've got, the 40 or 43 that you have in a term party, you can just say, okay, well, I know if that person's playing well, I know I can shift this one here, and it's that ability to move the chess pieces, gives you that ability to be a great coach.
Come on, I think that we'll. Nigel Quigley, the Night King, says man management experience and backing the skills of the players they pick. Not just picking your favourites as well. I think we have generally seen that in recent times, which don't necessarily. He's not even on the Lions tour coaching staff yet. Leave the man alone. Just because you haven't got enough white walkers in the Irish team at the moment, they will come. Build it, they will come. There we go. Before we go to Renan Craig says the old results are ultimately about any coach is judged on. I'll never ever please everybody with the selection or style of play. It's just the nature of the beast. I think it's more so now. I don't disagree with that point in all seriousness. I think it's more so now than it used to be in the past. Everybody wants the result, but also it was the style of play and looking at the team and being how the team got on together, as Kyle and David just said. Renan, what for you makes the best coach for a Lions team? What would you be wanting for them? You're an outsider, you've got an outsider's perspective.
It's a team effort. You got a big squad. I think it's David now that spoke about a touring party of 40 players. And then you're not looking at coaches and support staff yet. So it's a massive organization. But now you've got two teams, you got your test 23 and then you got the rest. Now, to keep those guys positive, to keep them interested, that must be difficult because it's easy to say, listen, your test, let's say your first choice 23, they're focused and you don't need to charge them up and all, which is true. But if you've got negativity in the squad, it's going to filter down to those players as well. So it's always the same thing. You got your tour games, and then as close, and then as you begin to move closer to the first test, it becomes clear which players are going to play in that test match and which are your fringe players and which players are clearly not going to play in that test match. And to keep those guys interested is a hell of a task because injuries happen and you got players that come out of the picture into the picture because of injuries or a red card or something, and then all of a sudden you got to get this guy interested again. So that's not possible. You got to keep him interested, and that is an extremely difficult skill. And for me, that is key to a successful tour, is to keep everybody on the same page. And I think that has been very difficult.
Can I just come in there very quickly? There's something interesting I want to pick up on there because Paul O'Connell said on a recent podcast the difference, because the 2005 tour that Woodward coached and the 2009 tour that McGeechan coached, the big difference was 2005, Woodward seemed to have his test team and the rest were just kind of put to the side. Whereas 2009, it was made clear that anyone could have a chance of getting the test team. And I think that's what you have to do. I mean, I understand what Renan is saying, like in terms of you'll generally, we'll all have our own 23s. We'll generally have like the spine of what it is, and the coaches will have that as well. But you have to make sure every player, I think, that is going on the tour believes they're in with a chance of making the test team, even if they fall short.
And that's echoed by Martin Buggy. Says the way that Woodward went about the whole team made it a terrible atmosphere. The dare trackers, the midweek ones, were kept separate from the test team. Jesus, can you imagine that when we talk about team bonding and it just making them feel second class? Rian's hit the spot on the head there as well. It certainly made a huge difference. Now that the All Blacks team were superb, and I don't say the Lions would have won on the better it would have been better under McGeechan in terms of success, but certainly in terms of basically had they gone back to what you're saying, lads, had there been an element that I think that you're still fighting for your spot, even if inside your head you've made the squad, but you're a midweek player. But you've got to keep closing your eyes and believing that you're running out in the test. That is the ultimate in anything. If you can't close your eyes and see it inside, when you close your eyes, if you can't see it, how can you possibly ever to achieve it? And if the coach doesn't even set that message out to you, then it's just wrong. Absolutely wrong. And great points from Martin and from everybody else on the line, and you guys. Guys, we're up to an hour, but I do want to cover who you think, starting with Dave Toppin, who you think will be the rest of the coaching team with the soon-to-be Sir Warren Gatland. You hear to hear first. Yes, he's going to get it if he wins this tour. So but after Colonel Tom, Colonel Thompson, so Dave Toppin, who else do you think will actually, in seriousness, make up Warren's coaching squad?
Well, let's see. Well, very obviously Farrell is going to play a part of some description. To what end, I don't know at this point, but certainly I think Andy Farrell will be involved in some shape or form. I think probably, whether it be looking after the 10s or whether it be looking after the forwards. I'm not sure at this point. I know Farrell will have an input. To be fair, actually, it's pretty much an open book. I think Sam Warburton for sure will be involved in some shape or form. I think we're pretty much everybody's pretty much agreed with Warbs. I would like to see I would like to see some. Not to, I don't want to see too many Welsh guys involved. What I'd like to see would be, say, you put me on the spot here, Joe. But I would think it's more a case of look at it from a point of view of you've got Gats, you've got Warburton. I would say Farrell, and I would say probably I can't remember the guy, one of the kicking coaches from Scotland, I think, if I remember correctly. I can't remember his name off the top of my noodle. But when I looked at it, I thought, well, it's got to make sense. You need somebody, north of the border to bring a wee bit of balance in, because you don't want it over heavy from Wales and England. Otherwise, you're losing maybe some front row experience from the Irish. You're missing, to me, in my opinion, the kicking skills of the Scots. Because as far as I'm concerned, I've always been a big fan of Scottish kickers. They've always led the way in terms of their approach to rugby in general. But no, at the minute, no, I can't really cement a coaching team at the minute.
Okay, no problem at all. Rena, we're going to come to you next, but let's go back up to a few we've got. Eleni says, "Go, Rena." That's right. Keep your players engaged, and fuel the love, fuel the heart, fuel the belief. Well done. Colin Campbell says, with the rugby calendar being so busy, the challenge of gelling players from 4 different nations so quickly must be so difficult. That's why Gatland is so good, even though he's not his favourite. There you go, Bob Tickle. Bob Tickle actually says that Mr. Gatland is a spent force. Rassie has a great unified team who didn't lose any players to retirement after winning the Rugby World Cup. I'm not sure about that, actually. The Springboks as a team, I don't think have peaked yet and are hungry for glory. I'm going to ask Greenan to answer that one, because I think that the gap, everybody knows I'm a huge Rassie fan. Hence, we started the Springboks and South African show. And I've learned so much more. But I don't know whether this gap, Reenan, what do you think? Do you agree with Bob that you're only going to get stronger? Or do you agree with me that actually there might be a little bit of lull? Have you lost any players since the Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, no, we have retirees. Beast Mtawarira retired, as did Francois Lowe, and one more player, Scott Brits, also retired.
Yeah,
which I can think of right now. But this, no, I don't think we've got no. There's nothing of this big lead we have on them and all that. That's nonsense. Everybody's building. Everybody's all the time, evolving. And this COVID-19 business has put everything to a halt. So technically, no one is doing anything right now. So no, I don't see any advantage there. Yes, we've got a strong squad, and it's going to be one hell of a series. But it's a bit far in the future now to venture into that right now is a bit of no, I'm not going to go there. But Joe, to get back to the topic of the support staff, I think Gatland's going to have a serious think about John Mitchell on the bench. And if you can get the contracting right, and if you can free up John Mitchell early enough to start working with him, that could be a hell of a problem for us, because anyone is built on defense, and John Mitchell's record speaks for himself. So if he could get Mitchell in, we've got problems. I'm telling you now. And then another guy that he could also consider, I don't know where Steve Borthwick is right now, but in terms of line-out coaching, that guy's right up there. So I think he will be well advised to look at John Mitchell and Steve Borthwick, from my view.
Absolutely excellent. We have got Colin Campbell says Warbs. Yeah, I think Warbs will be shoo-in, and actually, I just think he's a quality player. I think he's going to be a fantastic coach, and I think he's a great gel motivator to bring people together. As will having Jason Leonard, who's the tour manager. And I think the tour manager is going to be doing more. He will be more about. There'll be the coaching piece there. There'll be the squads there. There'll be Jason in the middle. I mean, who's going to argue with Jason anyway? But seriously, I think he's just a right person to be a tour manager.
Yeah, in fact, Joe, actually, McGeechan in his book actually named Leonard as his ultimate lion.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's a really quality choice. And nothing against managers who have gone before, anything like that, but it's a pivotal role, which I think really solves everything. And as a go-between, it's a fab choice. Who else do we think? Rabs Hurt from Rugby Redefined is on. Good morning, Rabs. How you doing? Martin Buggy. I was waiting for somebody to pop up with. Oh, look, Jesus, they're coming in thick and fast. But it's if he's got any sense, he should ask Stuart Lancaster to go with him, but he won't. I'm not sure that Leinster will release. Bomber has been. Stuart Lancaster is just superb. I just think he has just found his niche in Leinster, and it's just been and I think with returning again, I'd be very surprised whether they let him go at all. Wildcard says some bloke called Richard Topping, White Walker 1967. He's down in Peckenora. We don't need to really listen to him, do we? David, your brother.
You know what? Actually, I would actually be putting him forward as my brother forward for the social secretary.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
one coaching and one social. In all seriousness, Reggie says Dan McFarland should be from Ulster. Quality. Again, it's losing the first team coaches from the provinces, regions, franchises, etc. Very interesting day, just a side issue. 71.9% an Asian sports and media company bought into the Ospreys. Breaking news just before the show came on tonight. So that'll be quite interesting to see how that goes as well. Who else does anybody think? There you go. He meant Dan McFarland. Of course you did. Maybe we knew that, mate. Nigel Quigley, the Night King, says he won't can't afford to lose them. Unfortunately, I don't think any of the top ones, any of the top province regions, coaches will go. Kevin Hare says, have the Springboks found the lid to the William Abellas Cup? Yeah. Ooh, that's interesting. Is it still lost? I thought it was just somebody hitting it for a joke. Thomas Lister says Stuart Lancaster, surely. I don't think he will. Goes back to him, but it'll be interesting to see. And Eleni says that Beast, Lowe, Francois Lowe, and Shelf Brits have all gone as well. And 3 quality players. I think the experience when you lose 2 or 3 really good quality players tells a lot in a team. I really, really do. But
I think you even consider Paul O'Connell here as well. Maybe they're.
Cool.
Catherine there mentioned he could be Mr. Congeniality for the tour. Fair play.
Absolutely, that is a great course. Regan says Lester Borthwick is a head coach. What about if we're looking sort of outside wildcards and people who would be available? So Paul O'Connell would be great. But what about Ronan O'Gara, who's been doing phenomenal? Kyle, Ronan O'Gara, would he be a wild card for the?
He's head coach at La Rochelle, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know, because he's in France. Would they let him go to do the tour? Again, a lot depending on the French schedule as well. So, and obviously what he wants to do. Because it's Gatland, I'll be honest, I don't think he'll take Rog. I think he'll go with Farrell because he knows him. He'll go with Roundtree because he knows him on the scrums. Forwards, he might go outside the box a bit. I mean, I would think Dan McFarland would be a bad shout there. Anyone else? I'd like to see a Scot go. I mean, I wouldn't mind Gregor Townsend going. But again, we'll see there. I don't know. If he picks, I don't know. He might pick Howley again. But that's what I think defense, like I said, defense. I think a safe bet he'll go with Farrell again, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like John Mitchell. I like Reenan's call on John Mitchell. I think it's fab. Yeah, Kay Beechner there saying Paul O'Connell could be.
But I would like to see Paul O'Connell as forwards coach, though. I'll say that because I think he could really bring something. And I like the way he speaks as well when he's a pundit wherever he is. So.
Yeah, cool. Right, to finish off, lads, Martin Buggy says the talk of South Africa is always the best in his opinion. I think next year is going to be pretty exceptional. Whenever it's played, it's going to be pretty exceptional. Which is why we spend a lot of time sort of building up this series, and then, I'll tell you then how things are going to work and move on from here on in. That makes it the most special tour. There's just something in it. 09 was one of the best, even if the result went against us. That second test was a classic game. Test 3 also showed that McGeechan Lions team could play. What else have we got just to finish off with, lads? Colin Campbell can't see Bob being asked. No. Bob downstairs got more chance of being asked than Brian O'Driscoll to beat there. And Mr. Sir Warren. Mate now, Sir Warren. Bod is available if you need him. Although he does have a lot of piss breaks, is the only downside to our Bod. There we go. And he does bark at the referee.
Just to be aside, when we're chatting about Jason Leonard, I actually believe he just double check something there. I actually believe he's actually the chairman of the Lions at the minute, and could possibly be the actual term manager for the 21.
He is. Yeah, he's the tour manager. That's why I said that. I think it's a very astute choice having somebody who's out those integral links to bring.
There we go. There's Leonard, Paul O'Connell, and Borthwick. There you go. Your props are sorted. The props are running the show.
Well, and quite right too, sir. Quite right too. We know that thing. But I'm very taken with Reenan's idea of John Mitchell. Actually, I think it's a very good choice at all. Right, lads, that's about it. Right, what's going to happen is there are more Lion show coming. Show 4 with we are searching for a Lion at the moment. We are searching for a former Lion. We have engaged with some. We are trying to find you a Lion to get a Lion on the show. So a bit like. Simon Clutterbuck before, if you know somebody out there, Mr. McGeechan, Sir Ian, to his neighbours, obviously to Simon, if you know them and you've got a pet lion in your back pocket, sort of thing, then let us know and we will engage with them and get them on the show. We have got our feelers out, so to speak, in the virtual world, looking for some, and we are tied. And everybody knows that we have. Everybody knows that we have the fortnightly Springbok and South African Rugby Roundup show with the great Andy Daniel from Scrum 5 Rugby and myself. And what's going to happen is we're starting to build things there and the Lions show here, and they will all morph into one. And we have got things like the Lions in Pink, and we've got the unofficial British and Irish Lions Forum with Adam Gilshan on as well, and we've got a whole pile of other things, and they will all morph from shows into shows, and it'll all transfer to the Thursday show at some point, but not before we've had part 4, and we find ourselves a Lion and Martin Buggy, who is Mufasa, the Lion King, the greatest Lions fan in the world. So just to finish off, so what's happening tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. So you've got to go to David Campese 11 to his Facebook page or to his Instagram and watch the very, very, very exciting interview he's going to be doing with the great Brian Habana. On next week's show, I'm not going to tell you what it is because things might change between now and then, but whatever it's going to be, it's going to be exciting. I'd like to thank Colin Campbell and Alex Mead, who are fans in 5, to Carl Patterson, to David Toppin, and to Reenan Stenenkamp for their thoughts. Carl was Carwyn James, Reenan's was Sir Ian McGeechan, and David Toppin was the great Sid Miller. You will have your own choice, lads. You will have your own choice. And what's this one? Dave says, waiting for the Kigo production. What, the fitness one? Yeah, if you missed we had loads and loads of concerts about it. If you missed the Monday Kigo and Big Joe show, where Kigo did his lockdown fitness, you've got to go back and watch it. It was a bit of class. And even worse than that was next Monday. Is I have to give a 5-minute. I would have to record a 5-minute fitness session. Me and Bod. And no, for those people who have written and said, am I going to be wearing a like and all the rest? No, not before the witching hour, lads. This is just not fair at all. So that'll be next Monday with the Keego and Big Joe show. We will have a whole pile of things on. We've got a show next Wednesday and next Thursday. Absolutely, next Thursday, the Springbok and Rugby Roundup show. We have got a whole crock of people on Andy Daniels put together in there, including the great Mike Friday. I mean, we'll know who that is. So there's an awful lot of things happening around the bazaar. Until Monday, please stay safe. If, as ever, you've got a topic that you want us to try and cover, like tonight, this was a fans show. It was put forward by the fans and endorsed by Mr. David Topping, who had already chosen his one. Well done, David. So we slotted it in, and we can do that. What's going to happen in the future? Great to see some rugby coming back. Our very best thoughts to all our friends in Aotearoa in New Zealand, and the obviously doing the Super 5, the Super Rugby 5 teams internally. And I think that starts on the 13th of June. Myself and Zakaya Zvitanovic will be hosting a joint show at round 5, looking at the first 5 rounds of that as well. And so as rugby comes back in, we will be slotting shows back in, covering those. In the meantime, there's something every Monday, something every Wednesday, there's something every 2 Thursdays. Thursday the 28th, for people who are Leinster fans, and it is a global brand now, and want to learn more about Leinster and rugby in Ireland and how it affects domestically and internationally. Myself and Jeff Pagano from the fantastic Harping on Rugby will be co-hosting the Leinster Line, which will be the first spin-off show for the Leinster. Followed quickly, shortly after that, by 2 more. Myself, Jeff, and Keego will be doing the watch party on the 2011 Leinster versus Northampton Saints, the great comeback. And then the 2 days after that, we've got the great Mike Ross on, former Leinster and Ireland prop, to talk us through that game, especially the second half comeback. So there's lots and lots of things happening. So if you want a topic, if you want something to go on, then comment in here or send us a private message or contact Keego or Renan or Dave or Kyle, any of the regular panelists, and we will look at putting your idea in. If you want to be a guest on the show, let us know. 85% of our guest panelists are just like me and you. In fact, I'm crap. I'm just a rugby generalist, but I find very, very good people. We've actually lost White Walker 1. It's because it's gone after a certain hour up north behind the great frozen wall up there. So that's why he's had to go. As White Walker 1, he's got to go and check on the Night King's troops where they are up there. So thank you to David Toppin and our best wishes to him, Carl Patterson, Serene and Stenenkamp. Thank you, lads. It's always been a pleasure. And to all of you who have been watching, until next Monday, stay safe. As Bod says, wash your paws. You know, it's not like Jaws was 30 years ago when the mayor said it's safe to go back into the water. It ain't, lads. The sharks are still out there. There's still problems there. Please watch the social distancing, abide by the rules, and don't try and slip back into your old ways too quickly. This has been another crack-filled, banter-driven, educationalising episode of Three Blokes, a Ball and Bod, looking at the greatest ever British and Irish Lions coaches. Renan Stenenkamp, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Dave Toppin, and to Colin Campbell and to Alex Mead, thank you to everybody who's been watching again, and we will see you all on Monday. Until then, I am Big Joe Shepherd. There's one and only. Got a meal of my haggis. Haggis. Still on, go follow.